Today I am starting my seeds indoors, running a little, well, I don't call it a little behind because I honestly think that this is the perfect time to start seeds indoors for Zone 7B. I think the last frost will be the first week of April. So doing the math, there's about 2 weeks left in February, 4 weeks in March. So that's about 6 weeks out. I just feel late because last year I started my seeds way earlier than this. It was like late January, and my seedlings were just inside, and I just felt so bad for them because I couldn't transplant them yet. So this year I'm going to start about 6 weeks out. So what I did already was I organized how I want to have my seeds in the seed cells by just having a little chart here. So what you can do is you can either create a chart like this. Hello. You can create a chart like this, or you can create little labels and actually put labels and tags on your seed tray. So I'm working with a 72 cell seed tray, and I'm going to show you the seed tray in just a moment here. Okay, so this is the seed tray. Pull this down some. Okay, so this is the seed tray. What I did so far was I washed it because it still had a little bit of dirt and residue from last year's time using it. And then I also sanitized it. I'm gonna put out a short on how I do that. And then I dried it and I filled it up with some dirt. I pressed it down to make sure all of the air gaps were out and any big pieces of like twigs or anything like that. And then I topped it off with a little bit more dirt and I filled it with about a liter of water. So that's what I did so far and waited about 2 hours, and the dirt feels a little squishy. Some of the cells, the dirt doesn't look the same, but there's still a good bit of water in there when you push it down some. So what I'm gonna do with those cells is probably just spritz the top a little bit. So yeah, so I also labeled this tray A, B, C, and D on all corners. So I'm gonna start off with A. And A is my mixed peppers. So I'm gonna start off with these here. I planted these last year or sown these seeds last year and they came out really well. I really liked that it was mixed peppers because it was kind of like a surprise. However, what I didn't like was sometimes the surprise not knowing what pepper it was. Um, but one of the peppers that came from this was this one here, this dry one. And this dry one, I believe it was like a purple pepper, purple Thai pepper. Some people on TikTok let me know what it was. However, it wasn't on the list of peppers here. So still not quite sure. But it was extremely hot. I made a nice little sauce with it using duck sauce and that pepper, mixed it, and I love like a spicy sweet combination. So that's how these seeds look here. And then another thing that I do just get something. I've just been using this like little pencil here and just pushing it down and making little holes right there. Now, every seed that you plant will have a different measurement that they need. So this one, the depth is 1/4 inch. So I'm kind of just eyeballing it 1/4 inch, and I'm placing 2 seeds per hole, and I'll just end up thinning them later when they start to grow. You always want to thin the strongest one, or leave the strongest one, I should say, and thin the weakest looking one. Last year I told myself I was gonna get a little tweezer because these seeds are so small. But I forgot. So the thing with the mixed seeds that I don't really like putting two in, because sometimes like I don't know which one's which when they're seedling. But I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyhow. And hopefully they both grow, because there's a way to separate them. That way you don't have to like lose a seedling and you can keep both. And I'll show y'all that when I get there. Okay, so then I just cover it up with a little bit of dirt on top and I just press it down some. And then this is done for these. Next, I'm gonna move on to this one over here. Let's do the same thing. I believe this is another 1/4 inch. And for this one, I have cayenne pepper and Tabasco, so half and half. So this is actually the Tabasco that I had last year. When they're all dried up, you can just get a plate like this so you can see it a little clearly and just gently loosen them. So then that's how they look. So this is from a Tabasco plant that I had last year, and I'm going to plant 3. So what I'll do is I'll just put 2 in each and just separate them when they start to grow. This is like one of my favorite parts, is planting the seeds and then just keep checking on it. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite parts about gardening. All right, so that's the Tabasco, and now the cayenne on this side. So the cayenne pepper was a gift from someone, so I'm kind of interested to compare it to my cayenne pepper from last year. See if it's the same type. I'm just doing the same thing, 2 in each, with the possibility of saving both plants or thinning the weakest one. Alright, so those are done. Okay, so I have that, and now I'm moving on to, these are just gonna be eggplant. So that's nice and easy. So eggplant, I believe, likes to go down a little bit further in the ground. Let me just double check. So eggplant, you wanna do a 1/2 inch deep. It's a little bit further. So these are dollar store eggplant seeds. And last year they grew. They didn't grow in the pots. I planted some in pots, I planted some in the beds. The beds they grew, but they did not grow in the pots. So this year I'm just gonna do directly into the bed. I think sometimes with pots, it's kind of hard for the roots to mature because of the pots have a pressure that it puts on roots, versus when you plant something in the bed, it's a little bit more even pressure, especially if you have like a lot of space. So same thing, I'm just putting 2 in each cell. This is pretty much the last of my eggplant seeds, so just gonna go ahead and use them up. So I'm just gonna have one. All right, and then this one here is spoon tomatoes. Someone gave me their harvested spoon tomatoes last year. They're pretty good. I just ended up using it in angel hair pasta. It worked out pretty well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just gonna do it on one side. See how deep these like to go. 1/8. So these really don't like to go deep at all. They are tiny, tiny. Ooh. There might be at least 3 that goes in there because they're so small, they're hard to separate. And these tomatoes were okay. The spoon ones that I had last year, this is my first year growing them. Last year I had them and someone gifted it to me, actual tomatoes. But I might just gift these seeds to someone else when I go to the plant swap soon. Alright, so that's that. And then Roma tomatoes. These are the ones that I'm using. These like to go 1/4, a little bit deeper. Last year I didn't have a good time with these. Someone told me that they're just really tricky. They're easy for root rot and kind of need like a lot of calcium in the soil. So I did those 2 things, and I stopped the root rot by like just kind of cutting down a lot of the stems that didn't have any fruit on it and making sure there was a good bit of air flowing in the bed. Because you know, if you grow tomato, they can get really bushy. Then I put some calcium down and it kind of helped with the blossom rot. I said root rot, I meant blossom rot. All right. Next up is the beefsteak tomatoes. Beefsteak. Another 1/4 inch depth. These last year didn't have a good time growing either. The bush was growing really, really well, or not the bush, but the tomato plant, let's say. It was growing really, really well, but there was just no blossoms. The blossoms were really, really tiny, not producing. So I just kept trimming and pruning, and then I finally got like 1 beefsteak at the end. I think it was the location of where it was in the bed. It was kind of like off to the corner next to the fence. So I think next year I'm just gonna make sure it has plenty of room. But one good thing about gardening is every year you learn something. So, and you just get better and better at it every year. And then some years it's not anything that is in your control, it's just the weather. And that you just have to learn grace and patience with that. So this is just crim now. The crim tomatoes grew really well. They were a nice size and a beautiful dark purple blackish color, so pretty. And they were nice and juicy. To me, they were okay. Like I would just see them more as a tomato I would eat on a sandwich, but I don't really care for tomatoes too much that are raw. I like my tomatoes more cooked. But if I were to eat a tomato on a sandwich, and beef, I'm not beef, but the black crim weren't too bad for that. So once again, 1/4 the same. So are you starting any seeds indoor this year, or are you just gonna go ahead and do direct sow? I know that some plants want to be sown directly out in the yard, and some kind of need a head start. So I'm just giving these a head start. Most of the plants that need a head start, or most of the veggies or produce that you'll grow, are what they call warm weather crops. Tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplants, peppers, things like that. But some other things, like you can start them inside if you really want to, but you don't have to. Alright, so now I'm gonna do chamomile. Chamomile, you just wanna sprinkle it right on top. You don't really wanna put any extra dirt on top. You can sprinkle it right on top and keep it moist and it'll grow. So this is some chamomile I have from last year. This is German chamomile. And this is Roman. So I'm gonna do one of each. Sprinkle a few seeds on one cell and then sprinkle a few more on the other. I don't know the difference between German and Roman chamomile, but we're about to see. Yeah, so what I do is I just sprinkle them right on top. And then I'll just spray it, keep it moist. But last year they germinated and started to grow, but they didn't take off. So hopefully this year they do grow. So the same thing with the Roman chamomile, just sprinkle it right on top. Okay, so I'm gonna do a calendula next, and the calendula I'm gonna do 2. I'm trying to grow a lot of flowers this year, especially ones that are edible or can be used topically as well. So that's this one here. And I have another one that I'm gonna be planting, not right now, but probably in the next few weeks. I'm just gonna do that one as a direct sow. This one right here. So this is about 1/4 deep. These seeds are nice and big. I love a big seed. I don't have to keep struggling with seeds. I'm just gonna do, let's see. I'm gonna do 2. I'm just gonna kind of separate a little bit, but I'm gonna do 2. And calendula is really, really good for a toner. Like if you take the petals and soak them in Just some witch hazel. It can kind of like add some nutrients to your toner and really help out with skincare as well. You can drink it as a tea. Okay, so lemon mint. This is my first time with that, so about 1/4 inch on the lemon mint. I'm gonna plant some more mint, but I wanna plant them in different pots. Another bunch of tiny seeds. Just gonna sprinkle a few, like 4 or 5 in there. And then bergamot, I absolutely love the smell of bergamot. I'm not sure if you're able to ingest it, but I know they have really lovely scents when it comes to mixing it in body care products or essential oils. 1/16. I don't even know what that means. That seems like it's barely, just really right at the surface for the bergamot. I'm gonna make a little bit of a hole, but not too deep at all. Another bunch of small seeds. Put a few in there, see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this space right here open because I want to get some bell pepper seeds to put here. These I'm gonna do cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna do those. I absolutely love cherry tomatoes, so I'm gonna do a good bit of them. And this is about 1/8, so a little bit more shallow than the beef steak, which makes sense because this is definitely like a smaller plant once it starts growing. And just the same thing like all of them, about 2 in there. All right, almost done. Just got about 4 left. Okay, so I'm gonna do some kale now. This is my first year doing kale indoors. You know, I'm gonna do the collard greens first and come back to the kale. So these are the collard greens here. I did these last year and they came out really well. So it's my first year doing collard greens, starting them indoors. And the reason why is because I know that once it starts getting hot, the actual leaves of the collard greens get real leathery. So I'm thinking if I kind of start them early, that I can get more tender leaves before it's too hot. I do know that it is best to kind of go grow collard greens in the late fall season to harvest more in early winter, but I just didn't do that this year. So I'm just kind of seeing if I can squeeze in a little collard greens from, where did I put my marker? Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can squeeze in a little bit of collard greens now, and then I'll start again like in early fall. So my first year growing collard greens inside, let's see how it goes. I really love growing greens because like I try to eat greens at least once with every meal, once a day I should say. So whether it's dinner or my lunch, some type of green. And it feels so good just to go in your backyard and get them. So, but then the rest of them I'll definitely just be planting outside direct. So, okay, and the kale, I honestly think my kale is still in this. So if you didn't see my video, I did a short and I also did like a full live on my seeds, how I organize them. That way I can just dive right in and and get the seeds that I need for the season that I'm going to be sowing them. Another thing I really like about this is sustainable because there is a thrift store near me that sells reusable, recycled crafts, office supplies, different type of materials. And I got this box and these dividers for like less than $3. And some other things like the labels and everything. Okay, so my kale is in here and that is in the early spring section, but I'm curious and I'm gonna start them indoors now. So, see how that goes. So about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And these are really good. This is the red Russian kale. So it comes out a little bit of like purple. All right, so now this is peppers that I don't know. It's just some peppers that I got. Oh, just I think I got some peppers from a friend and I didn't label them. It's either that or Scotch bonnet peppers. So I'm just going to put them in here with a question mark, but I know they're definitely peppers. I just don't know what kind. Let's just see what happens. Sometimes those little surprises feel good. And this cell I'll definitely have to spray with more water because it didn't absorb as much as the other cells did. All right, so what's next? Cucumbers. So last year I got some good cucumber harvest. Once again, the pots didn't work, but the beds did. So this year I'm going to just do them again in the beds. Here's the seed. Once again, some dollar store cucumbers. They worked. And the seeds are nice and big. And all of them germinated last year. All of my cucumber plants. I'm just gonna go ahead and put 2 in each one just in case though, and I can try to separate them if anything. Another reason why I do that is because I know seeds don't last forever. So it's just something where I'm like, hey, let me just use them up and while I can, because after a year or two, they kind of start slowing down on their germination rate. So, alrighty, and now these are banana peppers. So this is a banana pepper from last year. And I'm guessing about 1/4 for that because most of the peppers are. And what I do with this is similar to the other one. The Tabasco's just loosen it from its core. And they come out like that. And then I have to end up putting this in the plastic bag, the leftover. And make sure you like eyeball your seeds. If you see them looking a little funny, don't even bother with them. There's other ways to test it as well. I'm gonna come out with probably like a short video on testing certain seeds. Okie dokie, that is done. All right, so these here, the purple peppers. I might try to give some to people as well if they're interested in something really, really spicy. Okay, just like before, I'm just gonna break off the top. These seeds don't look the best, so I'm gonna look at the other ones. There's only one in here that looks really good to me. I'm not gonna toss them, but I might just throw them directly in the soil and see what happens. So this one here, if you look, it's like all brown. I wouldn't plant that, but I would definitely like sow this seed here. This one looks better. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is open up another one and see if these seeds look any better. So this is from my purple pepper plant. Last year it was a tiny, really extremely spicy purple pepper. Yeah, these seeds look a little bit better. There. All right, so this is my last one right here, and I got cherry pepper. These are my cherry pepper seeds. Got some of those. So this is the Italian cherry pepper. It tastes really good if you pickle it. It kind of reminds me of a sweeter jalapeno, like a bell pepper and a jalapeno had a baby. I really like them, and I love how cute they are. Alrighty. And last but not least are my yellow wax peppers. To be honest with you, I'm gonna do one more cherry because the yellow wax peppers last year didn't grow well, and then on top of that, I bought the wrong ones. I thought those were supposed to be bell peppers when I did my research, and yellow wax peppers are different than bell peppers. They're waxier in the skin, and they're a little bit more spicy and not as sweet. Okay, so just 2 wax. But I'll still plant it, like I said, I have the seeds, and I love peppers of all kinds pretty much, especially sauteed. All right, so I am all done. I got all of my peppers set up. I'm just gonna probably spritz the top of this. I got my spray bottle on right now, but spritz it in a second. Okay, so if you live in zone 7B and you haven't started your indoor planting, now is the time, especially for warm weather crops such as tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, eggplant. All right. So this is all done. So what I'm gonna do now is I have a heat mat. I have two of them actually. So I'm gonna put it on my heat mat, and for the first 24 hours it will be on, and then after that I'll probably just start looking for germination. Once the germination starts, I'll start to take those and back off of the heat a little bit, and then I may leave a few of them on if they haven't germinated yet. I do know that peppers take a little while longer to germinate sometimes. My cucumber last year was one of the first to germinate. So then I put the lid on like this, and this builds up a lovely greenhouse effect for them, and they start to grow. So yeah. All right, y'all. So that is my indoor planting. I'll keep y'all posted on how everything starts to grow, and I'll see y'all soon.